I had to pay $39.35 to hold my baby after he was born. You need to pay money to hold a baby? Medical bill.
610,000.
No, you're
What?
So, welcome back, everybody, to another reaction channel. Helen, what's going on? What's happening?
Not a lot. What about you?
I was in Rome and in Paris last week.
You were?
And then
Did I know that?
I'm going to Paris next week. I don't know where I am half the time, to be quite honest with you.
All I ever know is that you'll go quiet for a day. So I know that means that you're training. There'll be silence. There'll be like radio silence. And I was like, oh, he must be training. And otherwise it's like, chat, 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 chat. Oh, WhatsApps. Didn't we have like 85,000 messages between us the other day? Wasn't that?
I don't know.
Anyway. Yeah, anyway.
That's a lot of messages.
It is.
But anyway, so yes, we're going to react to something today which is hideously interesting.
Ooh. What is it? I have no idea what's going on.
No, you don't, do you?
No.
So we are going to react to what does US healthcare look like abroad?
I'm already triggered.
So basically, this is
we're gonna piss off all the Americans again. Amazing. Come on, then.
You see, I don't think so.
Oh, really?
The Americans know that their healthcare is broken.
But they don't, because they keep saying that it's... Well, I don't know.
But they think that... What I think is just ridiculous is that they have the word socialist and socialized. The police force is socialized. Schools are socialized. Fire brigades are socialized. They're all paid for by taxes. That's socialized.
So interesting.
But anyway, regardless, these are social initiatives.
Well, socially funded. That's what we're talking about. Social funding, isn't it?
Yeah, exactly.
It's communal funding. Oh no, I've used the common word.
And public schools, for example.
Yes.
And the American idea of public schools, not the British idea of public schools.
Not ours.
So for those of you who don't know, a public school in the UK is a private school, which is above a private school.
Yes. So
if you hear somebody say, I went to public school, it doesn't mean they went to state school. It meant that they went to a mind-bendingly expensive school. So we went to public school. And in fact, it's so funny when I say that to Americans. I'm going, yeah, I went to public school. And they're like, oh my God, I didn't think you would go to public school. It's like, darling, let me explain the situation.
Not your time. Yeah.
Anyway, yes, enough waffle here. And let's watch, shall we?
Let's watch. I'm intrigued to see how we're going to get cancelled today.
I'm always worried about being cancelled.
No, I'm not worried about it. I don't really care, to be honest.
Healthcare is a constitutional right. And
that's a form of communism because no country could afford those payments without seizing the assets of everybody else.
Welcome to Finland.
I like the music.
oh,
The only country in the world without universal healthcare. The only country.
Mad. And they think they're so progressive and they're so this and they're so that, the dream life. And it's, no, people are killing themselves to get insulin because it's so expensive.
I read an article about that this boy died.
Yes.
Because he didn't have an inhaler.
Yeah.
He couldn't afford an inhaler.
I mean, it's outrageous.
I had an argument with somebody on one of the social media channels, I can't remember which one it was, who was saying that, that you had to, it wasn't right to be subsidized and all the rest of it, and that you had to stand on your own 2 feet. And it's like, that's barbaric thinking. Like horrendous. You are a wealthy country. Yeah, they're a wealthy country, but they're a poor country.
Dudes, what's going on? Oh my god!
It's making me so mad.
I mean, come on, guys. It's not that hard. Look around the world. Everyone else seems to have figured it out, right? Imagine you're in America. Which of these options would be best for you?
That's a lot.
What?
What?
So these are insurance plans.
Yes, but what is OOP Max?
I've no idea. Out-of-pocket expenses, maybe?
Oh, that makes sense. Out of pocket. So the maximum you would have to pay is that.
Imagine paying $624 a month for medical insurance and still have to pay $7,500.
It's and a copay.
$600 a month is $7,000 a year.
That's people's rent, surely. That's.
How much
it's
do you pay
half.
for medical insurance? I think mine is about £75.
I
And that's
don't.
a really top of the range one.
I don't have it.
You don't have it. Well, you don't
No,
need it, really,
I
do
don't.
you?
Why would I need it? I live in a country that.
And the
has
only
a-
reason I have it is because if I go to hospital, I don't want to go into one of those 2-people rooms.
Well, they see me and they put me in one of those anyway. They put me in a single room every time. I get really lucky.
Yes, but it's hit and miss.
It's not. It
It
hasn't
is.
been for me. No,
Well,
actually.
you've been lucky because you live in the stick.
In the new hospitals, because so we've got a couple of new hospitals around here, and they're all single rooms. Well, not all,
Oh, right.
but there are a lot of them are single rooms.
Anyway, I'm not taking the chance, but did you know that the surgeons, the doctors, everything is exactly the same? All of the private surgeons and
Yes,
stuff
of course, yeah.
are NHS surgeons
Yes.
and things.
They
The only
just
thing you're paying for
moonlight.
with insurance here is the accommodation. That's
And
it.
the choice. I mean, you can choose who you go to see, but obviously they've got waiting lists, and you're usually put to the quickest person. But if you go
choose on the
private,
NHS as well.
no, that's what I mean. You
Yeah.
can choose, but
Yeah.
it's not. You obviously skip the waiting list too. That's the other
You
side.
skip the waiting list with in health insurance, yeah.
Mhm.
But
With private healthcare.
I certainly wouldn't be paying even $185.
Well, I had to have my neck surgery last year. I went privately for that, and I paid the out of pocket for it. And I'm just
Okay,
but it
£185 a month, right?
for lifetime, mind.
Danny, and then you have 8,850 as a deductible, which means you can't start claiming until you get to that.
and
And then
on,
you have an out-of-pocket max for 8,000.
well, that's
like,
more
I
than the
don't
surgery
understand what
was.
that- This is ludicrous. And it's so complicated. It's so complicated. And as far as I know, you can't buy the health insurance as and when you want. There are windows.
Yes, I believe you're right. I don't know if it's
A lot to think about.
What is it? An OOP Max.
There you
I
go.
guess with what I got here, I would go with Plan D because the deductible is 0.
Okay, there's more.
Good old HMO,
Jesus Christ.
PPO, HMO.
And what are copays? I don't get. That's like if you pay for Spotify Premium and Spotify still makes you pay every time you listen to a song.
Right.
It's
Right?
too complicated.
I'm lost. I'm so lost.
In Canada, I don't have to really think about the different plans that I could pick from.
You just pay one amount per month and all the major treatments are covered.
At least 70% of our medical expenses are always covered.
Uninsured, unable to afford treatment for a tooth infection that keeps flaring up. Cook Emma Rittner lost her job in March.
I did manage to get antibiotics from a friend whose mom regularly goes down to Mexico, and I've been taking that based on Dr. Google's advice.
Dr. Google's advice.
This
I
is
managed
so
to get
dangerous.
some antibiotics from friends?
But this is a common thing. People go to Mexico and buy drugs. There was a film about it with
Michael Moore.
Matthew McConaughey, and called
I was
Dallas
talking
Buyers
about a real
Club.
one.
Oh.
Michael Moore did an actual documentary on.
I mean, no, it's based on a true story, Dallas Buyers Club, where this man got HIV, and to get the drugs, he was having to smuggle them in because they were charging such a ridiculous amount of money. This was back in the AIDS, the crisis. And
I mean, this is ludicrous.
Because people aren't going to the doctors because it's too expensive. It's a bit like when you take the dog to the vet and you go, they say, well, they need this thing doing. So one of my dogs needs a tooth thing doing. And I said, oh, right. I said, well, how much is that going to cost? And about £600. It's not bothering her. We'll leave it. Right? Because it isn't. It's fine. She's fine.
Why don't you have pet insurance?
I do. But it's not the point. It's not covered because it's a birth thing. And but the point being, that's how you make medical decisions as a human. How expensive is it, rather than just do the thing.
How badly do I need it?
Yeah. That's nuts.
But if you're self-medicating, there's a high chance you're not even taking the right medication.
Right?
Ludicrous. Insulin, for example, is so expensive.
Here in Japan, even if you lose a job, you would never lose your health insurance.
Right? When you lose your job, that's when society should help you.
Yes.
I've chosen a creative job and had the backing of a healthcare system. But if you don't have that, do you pick the safe job or do you pick the creative job?
That's so true.
And you get stuck. You get stuck because you can't move.
Yeah.
The average price per unit for insulin in 2018.
Germany, $11.
Canada's $12.
Oh, God.
Wow. It's like 8 times the price of insulin in Canada. I guess that explains why Americans...
Why? This is a bit out of date now because I think our prescriptions are £9, aren't they? Something like that?
No, because I'm in Wales and they're free, Paul.
So they're not free in England.
No.
Unless, of course, you need them to be free.
So if you're disabled or child, I think they're free.
Oh, that's free. That's free.
But no,
if you need more than... If you have what they call a ongoing medication need, then that's free.
Oh, right.
So
well, that's interesting.
Let's say you take heart tablets or whatever, then yes, they're covered. But the doctor will write you a prescription for whatever you need. Let's say you need 3 things. And it's £9.70. I think it's £9.70, or maybe it's £11.40 or something. Anyway, it's cheap. But it's the price per prescription, not per item.
Yes.
Do you know what I mean?
Yes, I do.
So if you have 9 medications on it,
you get
then
them
all.
Yeah. When I was pregnant with one of my children, I got gestational diabetes, and I was having to inject insulin, I think 6 times a day, because I had to have a long-acting ones and whatever.
Yeah.
And I had to have the finger pricking thing with the testing thing.
The blood sugar monitor.
Thank you. And when I was in all these Facebook groups, and there was this kind of movement that you would send that when you, as a British person, had finished and the gestational diabetes had gone, you no longer needed the monitor.
No. Are you going to tell me you sent it to the States?
Yep. You'd send them to people in places where they didn't get them for free. Because they were so expensive. But not just that, the strips were really expensive.
Wow.
Right?
I mean, here, if you have diabetes, that would be considered a long-term illness. You don't pay for that.
No. It's
you
ludicrous.
Don't pay for insulin.
And because I was diagnosed with it, or because I had it, they then test me for diabetes every year. Then I got diagnosed with type 2 diabetes, which I've now gone below the threshold, but they still treat me as though I have it. And I still get the free eye tests. I still get the checkups. There's another one that they do.
And the foot thing.
Foot thing. There's loads of different tests.
Yeah, so you get you get these annual tests, then they do the diabetes eye test, which is different to a normal eye test, because they're looking for deterioration. And then the foot test, where they stick a little pin in your foot to make sure that you're not losing sensation in your feet, and of course. And then full blood work. And you're put on this. The difference being is that in the UK, medicine and healthcare is preventative. So we look at healthcare as preventative rather than dealing with it when it's too late.
Yeah.
It's far easier to prevent it than it is to fix it.
Much easier.
And cheaper.
And also, having type 2 diabetes, the doctor can also refer me to the leisure centre and give me a much cheaper, if not free,
you get it
membership.
To lose weight.
Yeah.
Yeah, I know. My doctor said that to me. My doctor said, I can prescribe a gym.
Exercise.
And I'm like, I can afford a gym. And she's like, so then go. My doctor's quite vicious.
Yeah, she makes me laugh when you speak to your doctor.
Medication.
I'm sorry, hold on. So the FDA doesn't have any authority over the prices?
We have also privatized health insurance companies in Germany, but the prices are regulated by the government.
The government negotiates the prices and fixes that price for 2 years.
And so they regulate this stuff to keep the prices down and, avoid like this happening.
Right?
Right, so I'm looking at an American medical bill.
610,000!
No, you're
What?
That cannot be. Audiology. 60,000.
I've seen people being charged like $50 for a plaster on TikTok and stuff.
$428,000 for room and care. $60,000 for pharmacy. $31,000 for laboratory.
$67,000 for respiratory therapy.
Jesus. You think this is somebody who had a heart attack?
No, wait. Let's guess what it was. We've got cardiology.
Audiology.
Audiology is odd.
Cardiology, laboratory, pharmacy, physical care, pulmonary services. Yeah, this is a heart attack.
Why would audiology be involved?
And why would you need radiology with a heart attack?
Well, that would be
therapy.
Radiology would be where they do
room
the
and care. 428,000. That's a house. That's a house.
That's a house. Radiology, when they do the catheter and they do the line up your groin to clear the blockage.
Maybe.
But why audiology?
Therapy service is $99. It's almost a bargain.
Oh, look,
Jesus.
therapists being undervalued again in comparison to everything else.
Blah, blah.
No. You're the one that gets on it as well.
Why is it so expensive?
$428,000 for rooms and such empty spaces. What?
Much cheaper to go Hilton Hotel.
I mean, truly.
Skin to skin after C-section is $39.
I had to pay $39.35 to hold my baby after he was born. You need to pay money to hold a baby?
For them to pass you the baby and put it on your chest.
No, it cannot be.
Truly.
$40 to hold your baby? That can't be right.
But it's skin to skin. So that means that they are removing whatever gown you've got on and putting the baby on your chest, your bare chest.
And charging you $40.
Get charged $40.
It sounds like a bargain.
It sounds like a strip club.
In the scheme of it.
Like, you might as well, might be cheaper. Like, Jesus.
Wow. 66% of bankruptcies are tied to medical issues. Isn't that wild?
Crazy.
Because, I've, of course, heard the term medical bankruptcy, but it's just not something you hear in Europe.
No, not at all.
It's not a thing.
It isn't. And
you can't go bankrupt by being ill.
Like, the amount of people I've seen, you can, but it's not because you're having to pay for healthcare, it's because you haven't got a job and blah. But the amount
How can you go bankrupt from being ill?
If you lose your job and you haven't got an income and then you can't pay your mortgage and all that sort of stuff. Okay,
fine. But then
you won't get it
if you
from
can't pay your
paying-
mortgage, you'll sell your house and then you'll get state housing.
Well, as long as your house sells, and as long as, you know, it is a bit more complex than just sell your house and move into state housing. But you're not going bankrupt because you're paying medical bills. You're not losing everything because of medical bills.
66%.
66%. And you see people on TikTok all the time saying, watch this with me so I can afford to pay for my chemo.
Yeah.
What?
And
What?
the GoFundMes basically to fund medical, like standard medical procedures that you wouldn't give a second thought to here.
Right?
You know,
right.
It's just
to reset my broken arm.
like
it's barbaric.
It's
America, wake the up. Like, it's barbaric. It's barbaric. It's torture. It's designed to keep you working for every single day of your life, to provide taxes to them, to do whatever it is to convince you even more that you're living in this amazing system. But God forbid you should need a little bit of help because your body doesn't do what it's meant to, or it goes haywire because of all the shit they put in your food.
It's not even that.
Oh.
It's the shame you are made to feel when you do ask for help. Like you're an absolute
parasite.
failure. And a parasite. The way they talk about benefits.
Food stamps.
They don't call them benefits in the States, do they?
What do they call them?
I don't know what they call them.
Social.
They're like handouts or something. I don't know what they call them. Anyway, but the Social Security, that's what they call it, isn't it?
Yeah.
So the way you are made to feel if you ask for Social Security help, like food stamps or anything like this, you are made to feel like a pariah. And you hand over this SNAP card in the shops to buy food or whatever, and the cashier is judging you.
Yeah.
And saying like, oh, well, now I know where my money is going. No, it's not your money. Shut up.
It's your taxes, and they're there to keep society afloat. And some of that is helping people who...
Not in the States.
Oh.
And then you have Americans going, oh, well, if we do this, our taxes will be higher. You pay higher taxes than everybody else anyway, darling.
Anyway.
Because you pay federal tax and state tax and city tax and sales tax.
And GST, right? So, like,
so it's like...
I mean, they literally... do an orifice without any lubrication. Regularly.
Yes, they bend you over a table and f*** you up the ass.
Yes.
I think that's what you meant to say.
Without lubrication.
However, they're like, taxes. Mm-hmm. Yeah. Anyway, that was a rant and a half.
That was. Pisses me off. Pisses me off. Wake up.
My brother Jamie, who's in a lot of our videos, was pretty badly injured. He's going to lose a couple fingers. If you can give $1 or if you can give $5, every little bit will help him and his family.
That's heartbreaking.
GoFundMe should not be something that people have to resort to pay for their medical bills.
No, it shouldn't.
So in America, people spend more than twice as much as in Japan for healthcare.
You know, if I paid twice the amount for a car, I would want the car to be twice as good.
Right?
So what's the life expectancy in the US?
Why is it less?
What? No way. You spend the most on healthcare as a government, as a society. You don't give it to everyone. And you're banging on about how the medical services in the United States are the best, the most advanced, the most amazing, because you hear this. And they are, if you can afford them. You know?
Well, exactly.
And yet you die 3 years younger than us.
Well, but then you've got to factor in the food, right? And the nutrition. Because the cheap food is you have to have money to have
half the ingredients are banned.
The way they do eggs in America We're not allowed them.
You see the chickens. You see the Americans come over to the UK and they're like, where are the eggs? It's like, they're right there. Oh my God, why are they not in the fridge? It's like, because we don't strip them with all the crap washing you put on them. It's like, oh my God, American chicken is the best. Like, no, it's not. No. It's drenched in chlorine and banned in Europe.
I saw a TikTok yesterday of an American woman in Italy, no, France, wherever. She was in Europe, going, Americans, this is what a strawberry is meant to look like. It's just a normal strawberry, Paul.
Just a regular strawberry.
Just a regular red strawberry. And she's like, oh my God, this is amazing. Look how red it is. Look how red it is. And I'm like, what are they doing to your strawberries?
Yeah. Like, well, it's all GMO, isn't it? Because they put hormones in the meat and they put hormones, which is why the meats are not... There's a common misconception that American meat is banned in Europe. It's not. American beef and pork and lamb and all the rest is not banned. What is banned is the hormones that are in the meat. So if you remove those hormones and you grass feed and whatever, which they call organic, we just call safe.
Healthy. Yeah.
That meat is allowed to be imported into Europe. But if you're going to inject your cows with hormones that make them 6 times the size of the average cow, then no, because those hormones are being ingested then into humans. Right. And this is probably why you get people who are 600-700 pounds in the States.
Yes, and there's...
Oh, I love my 600-pound life. Have you ever seen it?
No.
We should react to that. It's wonderful. I love it.
Oh, I might get triggered.
It's extremely fat people who go through weight loss surgery. But anyway, you know, they've got these growth hormones in the food and they must be affecting people.
Of course they are, because we're seeing earlier onset of puberty in children.
Right.
Precocious puberty is much more common than it ever was, plus just starting earlier generally. And it's often thought to be tied to the hormones, growth hormones in chicken in the UK, because they used to do, I don't know if they still do.
They don't.
No. But in the States, I believe, it's a really big problem that children are...
Growth hormones are banned here.
Okay, so...
In fact, most pesticides are banned here.
Oh.
So, you know, like crop dusting and stuff like that, you're not allowed that. So this whole idea across Europe of, you know, what we call organic is actually nonsense, because the grand majority of our food would be classified as organic because it doesn't use harmful pesticides, because it's not allowed.
Well,
so it's just a label.
There is a pesticide you can create from literally fairy liquid and water, which you're not allowed to put on. You're not allowed to use because of the chemicals. Yeah, this is coming from my family knowledge. That yes, you can't use it. They weren't. There was like they literally weren't allowed to use it because it's the chemicals that are in the fairy liquid.
The US should be on top of both of those lists. Like, if you're charging your citizens that much money, then they better be living the longest lives. It doesn't make sense.
It doesn't?
No, it doesn't.
When Alec turned 26, he was no longer allowed on his mother's insurance plan. Instead, he decided to pay for his insulin over the counter at list price. But the pharmacist told him a month's supply would be $1,300. He left empty-handed. Alec's official cause of death was diabetic ketoacidosis.
Oh, no.
A couple of years ago, I developed...
He died from diabetes?
It's so
$1,300 a month? That's awful. That's
a 26-year-old man dying.
That is just
he's a boy.
Shocking.
And he's dying of something so preventable.
Insulin was meant to be... The person who invented insulin demanded that it be given free to people.
Yes. Like the guy with the polio didn't patent it because he wanted everyone polio vaccine. Yeah. And now idiots go, I'm not taking vaccine. This is horrendous. It's horrendous.
$1,300 for insulin. That's basically consciously deciding, should I live or die? And he couldn't afford to live.
couldn't afford it.
Developed a heart condition, and I had to have my heart restarted 3 times. After the 3rd time I had it restarted, the doctor suggested I get heart surgery.
When I was 13, I started to get sick and really, really sick. I was then very quickly admitted into hospital, where after 3 weeks I had treatment for a brain virus.
The cost of the operation, I think, is about $60,000. And then the next day, when I left the hospital and I got my bill, it was a bill for parking. It was about $30.
And was treated by royal doctors, had several MRIs, lumbar punctures, all for free.
So I was pretty happy that I lived in Canada and had universal health care.
I couldn't have survived if I was in America.
To know that.
Now, people get really bent out of shape when we say things like, all for free. And we know we're not stupid that
Taxes
it's not
pay
free,
for it.
that taxes pay for it. But it's free at the point of contact.
Yes.
People do not, or free at the point of delivery, people do not have to think, oh, can I afford to go to the hospital?
No, when my
Can
daughter...
I afford for this? Can I afford that?
When my daughter burnt her hand last week, my decision as to whether or not to go to hospital was more the burden on the service
convenience.
and whether or not it was convenient. Yeah, whether I want to sit in the waiting room.
Exactly. You know,
And never did it cross my mind about money. Never, not even once.
No, of course not. Why would it?
No.
And then you have this other. Anyway, let's continue because I can feel another rant coming on.
Rant away. Let's wake him up.
Couldn't have survived if I was in America.
To know that I can get sick, I can get injured, but I will still be taken care of. That is freedom.
Right.
This is not freedom.
That's
No,
so
it's
true.
not.
That's so true.
This is
That's
the
not
thing. This is
freedom.
not freedom.
You're not living an American dream. You're living an American nightmare. It's a joke that you have to constantly be worried about whether or not you can afford to breathe. Like, that's crazy.
It's ridiculous. And this whole idea that you have this mentality that, oh, well, I'm not paying for their healthcare. Why should I? That's called a functioning society.
Right.
Where you all chip in for the greater good.
Well, I haven't called the police this year, so I'm not paying for the police in my council tax.
Right? I don't have children, so why do I have to pay tax?
Right.
Why
My
do I have to
children
pay
don't
property
go to
tax?
this school, so why am I paying for Welsh, like...
Yeah. Well, I mean, obviously in the UK, property tax does not pay for schools like it does in the US, which is a ludicrous system. Oh, yeah. Didn't you know that?
No.
Yeah, so the property taxes pay for the school districts, which is why when you're in a very wealthy area, the property taxes are higher, so therefore the schools are better.
So, guess what?
So if you're in an
the rich
underprivileged
get rich,
area,
and the poor get poor, because
the rich get a better education because their schools are better funded because the property taxes are higher. In the poorer areas, the property taxes are lower, so therefore the schools are underfunded.
The distribution of wealth is
absolutely.
And they're using communism as the justification for not doing it.
Communism and socialism, when in fact, I guarantee you, if you asked the grand majority of Americans to tell you the difference between the two, or even to explain them, they wouldn't be able to.
Don't think I can. Would you like to?
You know, they wouldn't be able to. No, I wouldn't. That's something that people have to Google for themselves. But anyway, that has nothing to do with US healthcare. We went off on a tangent.
Just a general states crazy.
But this is quite terrifying that people go bankrupt and people die.
They're choosing.
People choose to die because they can't afford insulin.
I mean, that is bananas. And also the folly of our own mortality, especially when you're young. Yeah, I'll be all right. I'll be all right without my insulin that I've depended on for the last...
I don't think if you were type 1 diabetes and you couldn't afford the insulin that you'd be thinking to yourself, I'll be all right, because you'd feel that straight away.
Well, people who... Okay, so
people ration their insulin.
Exactly. So maybe that's what the thinking... You know, I don't know, but I don't want to assume his thinking, but I think there is this there's got to be a level of denial in there. You've got to believe
Or resignation.
Maybe. But
If you can't afford $1,300, you can't afford $1,300. Here's the thing. Biden, when he got into power, brought the cost of insulin down to $100 or $99 or whatever it was.
Well, it was 98 there. So this must be old because it must have gone up and then down again.
Trump took that out. He ripped up that executive order and it's now gone back up.
That man.
Yeah.
There's an
In fact, have you
evilness to
seen,
it.
I know this has nothing to do with it, but have you seen Elon Musk has turned against him?
We
need
know,
to talk about that
We
need to talk
probably
about
should.
that in a live. I think it's absolutely hilarious.
Two narcissists collide.
Collide, yeah, absolutely. And of course, they're both brutally
battling
the
it
thing
out.
is, Trump is not. He's not sane enough or cogent enough or intelligent enough to be able to defend himself.
No.
You know? And so now Musk is saying that the reason the Epstein files haven't been released is because Trump is in them. I mean, we all knew that. We all knew that.
But to have someone say it out loud who knows, right?
Anyway, we'll talk about that in another video.
Okay.
Don't forget to like, subscribe, and share, everybody.
Do
Thank
all
you very
those
much.
things. And thanks for
And see
for
you
coming.
in the next one.
See you soon.
Bye.
Take care. Bye.